Welcome to Design Domination, where you'll learn to become a better, more business-savvy designer so you can dominate your competition. Hi everyone, thanks for tuning in. I'm Colleen Grotzer, and in this episode of Design Domination, I'm going to talk about how client relationships and getting clients are not that different from dating. Stick around to learn how to approach cold prospects, follow up, spot red flags, fire clients, and much more. Just as you build and grow personal relationships throughout life, you do the same to get and keep clients. Personal relationships aren't all that different from client relationships. There are good ones and bad ones. But oftentimes we creatives are more willing to put up with the clients treating us badly because we're getting paid. But I have good news. You do not have to pimp yourself out for the money. You can have good client relationships and get paid. So, what makes a good relationship in general? Mutual respect and good communication are important, first of all, right? Someone you want to be around, someone with similar values, perhaps. So, why don't we apply these same rules to our client relationships? Why do we sometimes act like it's all about them? Let them lead the relationship. Let them get away with bad behavior. Don't we have something to offer that relationship? I mean, relationships go both ways, don't forget. Just like they say with dating, there are a lot of fish in the sea. It's all about finding a good match. Okay, so let's start by comparing soulmates and your ideal client. We can put a lot of thought into what we want or don't want when it comes to people we date, right? or other people we spend time with. Your soulmate in life might be someone who makes you laugh, is good looking, intelligent, kind, and makes a good living. And there's probably some bad traits or not so great traits in there that you are deliberately looking to avoid. You know, as we develop more relationships in life, we figure out what traits we do or don't want in our soulmate or, other people that we hang out with. Well, it works the same with clients. So we need to start by identifying our soulmate, aka our ideal client. Here are some things to think about. Let's start with industry. Is there a particular industry that your ideal client is in? Like maybe you're really interested in or you know a lot about natural health or fine arts or restaurants. Those might be clients that you can help the most because you know so much about the industry and their needs. How about job title? What job title do they hold? Clients holding certain positions may require more hand-holding than someone in, say, a marketing or communications position who more often works with designers. So if a client doesn't regularly work with designers, they might need a lot of educating, and you may or may not mind having to do that. What type of work do you want from your ideal client? A prospect could come to you with work that you don't want or don't know how to do very well. I took on work like that several times early on in my freelancing career. Once upon a time, someone contacted me about needing something laid out in Word. Ugh. Well, like most designers, I can't stand designing anything in Word, and I took it on for the money, even though that wasn't even good. I spent hours upon hours over several days trying to accomplish this task that they wanted me to do in Word. I just couldn't figure out how to do what the client wanted, and I was working in a program that I wasn't used to working in. I wasn't interested in the work, and I wasted tons of time trying to figure out how to do what I needed to do. Even worse, the client was underwhelmed with my work, and that was a horrible feeling. So if you really enjoy designing logos, but you can't stand publication layout, then focus on logos. It's not to say you can't take on other work, but you can focus on getting the work that you want to do. And then what about frequency of work? Would you rather have clients who are wham bam thank you ma'am with fewer large projects, or ones that give you continuous work of any size, some of which you may enjoy and some may not? So these are all some points to consider. Think of it like creating a want ad or an in search of ad for your ideal client. And speaking of want ads, think of your professional profiles and your online presence like an online dating profile for clients. When you put your photo and your information in a dating app, you want it to be really great, right? You list your best qualities, your interests, and you put your best foot forward to appear as attractive as you can, but more importantly, to attract someone with similar interests. A good match. Your potential client is searching for a match. So when they come across your profile, meaning your website, your Behance or social media profile, they are checking you out to see if they want to pursue you, what you offer. They will expect that what you do for them will be of similar quality to what you have done for your site or for your work for other clients. So what impressions do your profiles and your website leave with them? What do they say about you? And I don't mean just in words. For instance, does the design of your site appeal to you or to your ideal client? For example, if you like polka dots and bright colors, but you want to attract large tech companies, as your client, then those probably would not be a good choice. A potential corporate client could end up on your site and think, I'm not in the right place. Or this designer wouldn't understand our needs. So think about what the design and the style of your website convey and if they align with the audience that you want to reach. I have a colleague who designs and builds websites for lawyers, for example, and her website appeals very much to lawyers. It has a conservative color scheme, and then she displays work that she's done for other law firms. It speaks very much to them. She even named her business to sound similar to a law firm. Now let's talk about photos of you. If you have photos on there, are they professional? You don't necessarily need to be in a suit and tie and pay a fancy photographer, but you don't want a pic of you, doing a keg stand, unless maybe you're trying to attract breweries. And are there any spelling or grammatical errors? You might think, well, I'm a designer, that's not my job. But if a potential client sees these types of errors, they might think you don't pay attention to details. And if you're not good at checking that stuff, then you should ask someone who is to help. Do you state what type of work that you love doing or are really great at or specialize in? Specialists charge more and they have a higher perceived value by potential clients. It doesn't mean you can't take on other work. It's just who you're focusing on attracting. And do you say which types of clients or industries you want to work with? So my specialization comment, that applies here too. If you're a specialist in a certain area, then you could state that. How about what you say? Your choice of words. Do you use the same words as your ideal client and demonstrate that you really get them, that you understand their needs? In other words, you would use different terms when speaking to a corporation versus an association. A corporation may be all about customers and sales and shareholders, and an association may be focused on members and dues. If you don't know what terms they use, then just check out their websites, or you can get on email lists or Facebook or LinkedIn groups that are in that industry, where they hang out, and see what they talk about and see the words that they use and see what their needs are. And then what is the tone of your website? Do you sound confident or do you sound kind of needy? And are your website and your accounts all consistent with each other? Do they say the same things, have the same vibe, and use the same profile pics? Consistency is part of branding and helps people recognize you. You want to be on point with all of these things, which is all about your branding. You can't preach to a client about the importance of branding if yours is in disarray. So review your website and your social media accounts and ask yourself how they make you look. Better yet, ask someone else to evaluate them for you. And even better, find someone in your target audience who is willing to review and provide feedback to you. Because it can be really hard for us to step outside of our box and do this for ourselves. Okay, so we've defined our soulmate, aka ideal client, and we're trying to attract them. Initial attraction in dating is not unlike prospecting with potential clients. Before you date somebody, you're usually attracted to their appearance, right? So maybe you see them from across the room at a party and you find them attractive. It's all based on what you see on the surface. You don't know each other yet, but you want to introduce yourself. So while potential clients may find you, you also want to look for and reach out to ones who seem attractive to you. If they don't know you, they're what's called a cold prospect, meaning you have no connection to them already. They're not a past client or referral from someone that you know. They're someone that you found on the internet or social media. They're someone that you're interested in working with who doesn't know boo about you. So say you want to get work from a certain company. They don't know you, but something about them is attractive to you. So just as you wouldn't walk up and propose marriage to someone that you spot at a party, because that would be crazy, right? You shouldn't email a prospect who's never heard of you and expect them to hand over money and commit to working with you. They don't know anything about you, your skills, your work, your client list, your work ethic. That's pretty risky, right? So you start by warming them up to start building some sort of trust. And then they will hopefully see that you have something to offer them and that you're not a crazy stalker. So how do we get introduced? Well, before you ever contact a prospect, you need to know, or more importantly, believe that what you have to offer is worth something. And understand what you have to offer. And that working with you is actually going to help them. You want to come from a place of helping, not making a sale. The goal is just to get your name out there and to get their attention in their inbox in hopes that they even read your email so you can potentially start a conversation. So you start out by doing some research, looking at the websites of potential ideal clients and seeing if there is something that you could help them with. So check out their website, and if you do website design, then you're going to assess the look of their website. If you do logo design, you'd be checking that out. If you design marketing materials or publications, then you would want to find them on their site. Are they dated? Do they appeal to their audience? Is their branding inconsistent? And then you want to find a connection. What is the nature of their business? Or if they're a nonprofit, what's the nature of their work? And do you somehow connect with it? Maybe they're a restaurant and your parents own a restaurant, so you know all about the inner workings of one. Or maybe they're an organization that helps people with a disability and your sister has a disability, so you understand their audience and their needs very well. If you decide to contact them, you need to find the individual most likely to work with designers. And that's usually someone in marketing or communications if they have a department for that. And for small businesses, it just could be the owner. You may or may not have to do some digging to find the right contact. If you cannot find their name on their website, then you can look for it on LinkedIn. And if you only see their first name on LinkedIn, then you can search online for their first name, title, and company name, and then find out their last name. Sometimes some creative detective work is required. Whatever you do, never address an email to sir, madam, or to whom it may concern. It is all about the personalization. You do not want to send a general email. I can't tell you how many times I get emails saying, "Dear madam, attached is my resume for your review. Contact me if you're interested in working with me." Like they couldn't be bothered to even look up my name on the website. I mean, it's right there plain as day. No, delete. So when you personalize these emails, it's going to demonstrate that you've done your homework. So after you have their name, you want to get their email address. And if you cannot find that on their site, then you do a search for their name and at theirdomain.com with quotes around that last part. And then you could also connect with them on LinkedIn. But if you connect on LinkedIn, be sure to send a personalized and relevant message just as you would if you were sending an email. And what I like about LinkedIn is that it provides the opportunity to not only connect to your ideal client, but they may later see content that you post that they might be interested in, and that acts as a reminder of you to them. And you didn't have to do any extra work for that. Okay, so let's talk about what's going to go in the email. You, of course, want to start out by addressing them by name. You want to use a compelling subject line, not, hey, do you need a designer? Do you have any work? Do you need any help? No, those sound needy, and they're likely to get deleted immediately. They also lead with what you want and not what they want or need. And it should always be about them and how you can help them. And then you want to get to the point. You want to be short and sweet and let them know right away why they should even care about reading your message. So state your connection to whatever they do, going back to my restaurant and disability examples, okay? And that can entice them to actually continue reading your email. And then you could express your interest in what they do or sell. You can briefly explain how you could help them. Like, think about any issues you found when you were checking out their site. Like if it was a poorly designed logo, poorly designed website, etc. You could even provide a link to an article that you've written or that someone else has written that may be of interest to them. Dmitry Dragilev has a ton of great info on cold emails with a lot of examples on his website. I'll have a link in the show notes. Be sure to check that out. Okay, so follow up. So let's go back to the party scenario for a moment. So say you walk up to that person you spotted from across the room and you go over and you introduce yourself. One of two things can happen. They excuse themselves, okay? Maybe it's you, maybe it's them. Maybe they're not interested, maybe they're having a bad day. Who knows? Maybe they just ate something that just made them sick and they're off to the bathroom. The other thing is, you might both engage in a conversation and you find out what they do for a living, you find out their interests, and maybe you continue talking. Or maybe after talking to them, they creep you out or you find something that makes you not want to talk with them anymore. Bye-bye. So the same applies to introducing yourself to prospects with cold emails. Don't expect a reply and don't make assumptions about why you haven't gotten a response. People are busy. People have other things going on. It's not necessarily about you. They might even save your email for later. Or maybe it didn't even make it to their inbox. But anyway, as Elise Benen of Marketing Mentor always says, silence is not a no. Now, if they do reply back, it could lead to further conversation, via email or a phone call. And you might find out more from them and realize you don't want to work with them. And in that case, that's a bullet dodged. Now, it can take several emails to get a prospect's attention, and you may not know if your email made it to their inbox or was opened, okay? But if you sign up for a free Who Read Me account, you can simply add .whoreadme.com to the end of their email address, and then you can track delivery and opens. If you don't hear from them, then after a few days, you could just do a cool follow-up like, hey, I thought you might like this article. Or, I thought your post in such and such group was really interesting. Whatever you do, don't ask, did you get my email? It's annoying and it sounds needy. Remember, you're just being a helpful professional at this point. You have something to offer. Don't chase them. If they read your original email and don't reply, then this follow-up email might prompt them to do that. If it doesn't, that's okay too. Remember, silence is not a no. By the way, you could always switch up sending emails with making calls instead. Now, I've talked a lot about approaching cold prospects, but what about warm prospects? A warm prospect would be someone that you get introduced to through a mutual introduction. Think of it like meeting a potential romantic match through a mutual friend. Now, in the professional sense, it would be a referral or a shared connection on LinkedIn. The benefit is that there's already some trust established there, and sometimes even an endorsement, and that makes starting a potential relationship easier. If you and the prospect end up connecting somehow, they may want a meeting, just like a first date. But just like you shouldn't go on a date and talk about yourself the whole time, focus on the client, discussing their needs and how you can help them. Think of it more like, are we a good fit for each other? Like a date rather than being interviewed by them. In case you don't know what to ask in that meeting, you can download my free guide called 17 Questions That You Must Ask During a Design Consultation at creative-boost.com/questions. Now, when it comes to dating, we all have our deal breakers, right? So if you want to have kids and you find out on your first date that your date doesn't want kids, what would you do? Not go out on a second date? Hope they change their mind? Or reconsider your desire to have children? Have you ever thought about deal breakers in freelancing? Well, if so, then you may have some in mind already, but sometimes we don't know what we don't want until it slaps us in the face. For instance, my deal breakers are clients that don't want to sign an agreement. I mean, hey, if things go south, that contract is your prenup. Okay? Clients that don't want to make a payment up front. Clients who show disrespect, which, that could be paying late. It could be not showing up for meetings on time. It could be rude clients. And clients expecting spec work. Hey, no giving away the milk for free, folks. There may be a time when you have to decide how much, if any, you're willing to deviate from your policies. Payment terms, design rights, etc., to accommodate certain clients. We all have different thresholds and needs to meet, so sometimes you may be more willing to put up with bad behavior. But there is absolutely no point in doing work if you don't get a signed contract and payment up front with new clients. If they don't want to do that, do not proceed. Do not pass go, do not collect $200. You do not want to lay awake at night hoping that you're going to get paid or that things are just going to work out without a contract in place. So after a few dates, that is working with the client on a few projects, let's say you see some undesirable behavior. Maybe they're verbally abusive. Maybe they want you all to themselves and don't respect the fact that you have other clients. Maybe they expect you to reply back at insane hours. I mean, you're not a heart surgeon on call, for crying out loud. Watch for the signs and then take action. If you don't want to stay in that relationship, you can simply break up with them. You're not locked into any commitment, so you can say, hey, it's not a good fit. You may even suggest they date a friend, meaning a colleague. But if they're a dirtbag, you don't want your friend dating them either. Similarly, you don't want to refer them to a colleague to deal with either. So you could send them to a service like Fiverr. If you do decide to continue the relationship, you want to set expectations and boundaries. So just like in relationships, you sometimes have to ask for what you need. So if you'll only be responding to emails or calls during certain hours, you want to say that. Do you want the client to prepare text in a certain way? Do you want them to stop sending images embedded in a Word document? You need to let them know. Let them know what you want. Let them know what you need. And just like with personal relationships, you need to nurture your client relationships from time to time. Find out what challenges they might be having that you could help with. So do they spend too much time trying to format their Word documents? You could create a branded template for them, right? And set it up with paragraph and character styles to make that much easier. But again, a relationship takes two. So if the client goes MIA and isn't reciprocating in the relationship, you might ask yourself, is it me? Was it something I said? Something I did? Maybe they're just busy. Maybe they got interrupted with a bigger priority. Okay, but when clients don't communicate, projects get delayed and you may not get all the information that you need to do a good job to get the results for them. So if they make a habit of ghosting and it becomes really difficult to work with them, well, it might be time to break up. And just as with marriage or a partnership, you or the client may propose working together long term. A long-term contract or retainer agreement should cement that vow of working together. Remember, if something bad happens, that's your prenup. Otherwise, designers are often the ones who take the hit, which sucks up time and costs when things aren't spelled out up front. So don't let that happen to you. Now, if things get bad, or you end up with a case of irreconcilable differences, such as, you decide that you no longer want to do the type of work that you've been getting from them, you can always divorce the client and just part ways. So just like with dating, there are plenty of fish in the sea and relationships have two parties. And the same applies to clients. You can find good clients who respect you, pay you well, and follow your processes. And you don't need to be everything to everyone. You don't need to morph into someone you're not. You don't need to do work that you dislike or don't know how to do just to get a client. No one is going to end up happy in that case, and you will also be unprofitable. I mean, the point of freelancing is to make money, right? So get out there, go fish, and find some potentially good matches. For a special bonus, please listen to the end to find out how to get that. If you found this episode helpful, please subscribe and leave a review. Visit creative-boost.com to see all episodes, leave a comment, or send me an email. For a special bonus, go to creative-boost.com/questions to get my free guide called 17 Questions You Must Ask During a Design Consultation, so you can be seen as an expert, not another order taker.